Good evening, my fellow members and honorable guest, Mr. Jim Fain. It's my pleasure to see you all here. The last time I saw most of you was at the holiday dinner parties in December. Those were fun parties. The last beautiful memories we can hold on to for a long time with our current international military students and their families. God knows what will be the new norms in the future, but our job is to serve this country as volunteers, regardless of war or peace. As President Dwight Eisenhower once said, we succeed only as we identify in life or in war or in anything else a single overriding objective and make all other considerations bend to that one objective. Our objective is peace, and that can be achieved through our mission. As citizen ambassadors, our mission is to promote international understandings and friendship through educational, humanitarian, and cultural activities involving a broad range of direct contact, exchange of ideas, and experiences among the people of Kansas City and people of different countries and diverse cultures that will help to build an enduring world peace. I can't believe it has been 12 years since my wife Carrie and I started sponsoring international military students under the GKCPTP flag. So far, we have sponsored 16 officers from around the world, and we enjoyed every moment with them. Our goal was, and always will be, to leave the best image of America on its loving people on their lives. We are proud of our service. I was a rookie president last year, and with the help of past presidents, fellow board members, CGSC staff, especially Director IMSD, Mr. Jim Fain, and Mike Bretman, the journey was smooth. With the current membership, we try to make a difference. We organized 3 Circle of Knowledge events with the help of CGSC, international military officers from the Republic of Fiji Islands, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Republic of Singapore gave their presentations. The presentations were outstanding, which made our events successful. On September 19, GKCPTP co-hosted with the World Trade Center, Park University, and Baker University, face-to-face with State Department, roundtable with the US Department of State's representative from Washington, D.C., Bobby Endelson. On September 24, GKCPTP co-sponsored with United Nations Association event Protecting the Peace at the National World War I Museum. On October 6, we had a very successful family event with the international military students at Diana Rose Farmstead. On October 30th, GKCPTP co-hosted with the World Trade Center, Kansas City, a roundtable with His Excellency Dr. Asad Khan, the Ambassador of Pakistan at Washington, D.C., here at the Greater Kansas City Chamber of Commerce. On the same evening, GKCPTP co-sponsored with International Relations Council an evening with the Ambassador of Pakistan, Dr. Khan, at Union Station. Thank you, Matthew. On October 31st, GKCPTP hosted a people-to-people breakfast in honor of His Excellency Dr. Khan with the GKCPTP board members and CGSC Foundation Chairman Mike Hockley. The guests included City of Leawood Mayor Peggy Dunn, City of Lenexa Mayor Michael Bowman, Republican Kansas Senator John Scuba, Republican Kansas State Representative Jane Kissinger, and Democratic State Representative Jerry Stogsdill. In August, GKCPTP co-hosted a roundtable with International Relations Council at the Taste of Brazil. The honorable guest was the former Brazilian ambassador, Jose Vincent Pimenta. In August, GKCPTP members volunteered for the 40th annual Ethnic Enrichment Festivals organized by EEC. I was also honored to represent GKCPTP at the International Hall of Fame Foundation ceremony, induction ceremonies, and dinners at U.S. Army Command and General Staff College, Fort Leavenworth. I'm proud to say that I'm part of an organization who has sponsored many world leaders. I had the honor to meet with the Chief of Army Staff, Indian Army, General Bipin Rawat, Chief of Joint Staff of the Armed Forces Argentina, General Barry Sosa, Jamaican Chief of Defense, General Rocky Meade, Chief of Staff, Senegal's Army, Major General Francis Nadia, and Chief of Defense Staff of Trinidad Tobago, Major General Rodney Smart. I want to thank you all for your strong commitment with GKCPTP and its programs. We are like a family, and we will go through all the challenges together. I want to especially thank Mr. Fan for his support and generosity to help us whenever we need it. He will be available for your questions during military report. So now we start our agenda. 2019 annual meeting minutes. Larry Hadland, please.
Well, I think the minutes are pretty self-explanatory. The only change from the original minutes is that we lost 2 of the board members who had been elected at the annual meeting. Charles Jasper was elected to be treasurer, and he unfortunately had to resign and was replaced by Marty Wilson. And then a little bit later on in the year, Nadia Nazar also had to resign for personal reasons, so she had not been replaced. I guess if anyone has any other questions about the minutes, be glad to answer them.
Are there any corrections, additions, or changes to the minutes? If none, I'm asking for a motion to approve the presented 2019 annual meeting minutes.
I so move.
I second. Tamara Sevcik seconds.
I will ask for all the members who are in favor, say aye.
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 And all who are opposed,
Aye.
say aye. So the minutes of 2019 are unanimously approved. So we will move to next item on the agenda. 2019 annual treasury report. Marty Wilson, please.
Oops. There we go. Okay. Hi. Sorry, took me a long time because my mouse is tired. Okay. I have 2 reports here in front of you. And Sharon, can you please open the first one, 2019, the first one.
And Sharon, if I could interject, I believe you're sharing your PowerPoint screen. So you may need to go back to Zoom and click share screen and then select the PDF file that you want to display.
Oh, thank you.
Or just share everything, Sharon. We'll just sneak a peek at what else you have. And Matthew and I will not laugh, Matthew, will we? Okay.
Hang on. Let's see.
By the way, the first report that Sharon is going to show us.
Does that work?
Okay, that's the second report. That's fine. That's fine. So this is a report comparing between 2019 fiscal year and 2018 fiscal year. And our fiscal year is January to December. So as you can see on the total membership dues, comparing to 2018, we had more membership, and if you go down to total expense, you will see less expenses, which make the income $66 more than last year in comparison. And I think the other one is just for 3 months of this year. So I mean, yeah, this one, yes. So this one is, even though it says year to date is up to April 31st, but on the other column is the whole 12 months in 2019. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Yeah, you can also chat me, personal chat. If you see on the bottom of the page, your computer, there is a chat. If you don't want to speak up, you can chat me. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there are no more questions, I'm asking for a motion to approve the presented 2019 Treasury Report. Motion.
Randy
Please.
Pace so moves.
I need second.
Karen Haber, second.
Thank you.
All who are in favor, say aye.
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 All who are opposed, say aye.
Say no.
Say opposed, say no. Okay. So the motion, that there is no aye on the opposing side too. So the motion is approved unanimously, the Treasury Report of 2019 as presented. So the next item on the agenda is membership report. Linda Jacob, please. Or Karen Haber, both can.
Basically, at the end of 2019, as you can see, we had 152 members, down just a smidge from 2018. As of now, we still have quite a few people, basically 30 people, member units, who've not paid their dues. And reminders have gone out, they're trickling in. Everybody on this call and this meeting is okay, you're all right, don't panic. But we should see that number coming back up close to the 152. But that's where we stand right now.
Okay, so the next item, any question on membership, please? So no questions, so we can move on next item, military report. So Sharon Vlasic will present the military report, and during that military report, if anybody has any question to honorable guest, Mr. Jim Fan, they can ask him the question that those two. Sharon Vlasic, you can start your presentation.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, good, thank you. All right, so I have, Jim did provide some slides, so I kind of have my slides and Jim's slide all together here in the military report. So I'll start out and then I'll let Jim know when it'll be obvious when we get to his slides. But both of our slides cover what's some things that are important about the 2020 class, the class that's still here, and then as well as the class of 2021, which will talk about how that's going to look different from our current class. So for the 2020 class, the students are completing their coursework. They are learning, as a lot of other students are in this country and around the world, by distance learning. And they will be finishing up as scheduled with the badge and graduation ceremonies. Sponsor appreciation event that was scheduled on May 29th has been canceled. However, the award plaques that we submitted will be presented, provided to our leadership at some point, and we will distribute those probably in the mail or something along that line, since it may not be safe for us to gather in person, but we will at some point receive our award plaques. For departing students, IMSD is going to provide support for airport transportation. Sponsors may, if they're committed to seeing their officers off, they can, but it is not at all something that the Fort expects us to do. It's a personal call on each sponsor's part as to whether or not you would feel comfortable or find it necessary to see your officer off before they leave. On access to the base, there are applications for the LAC are not being currently accepted, and the Visitor Control Center is not operational at this time. If you have a valid LAC, if you came to the entrance, my understanding is you won't be denied access, but you should evaluate why you need to be there. If you're coming for a social visit just to visit with your officer, you probably should not plan to do that for obvious reasons based on what's going on. If there's some compelling reason, like your officer borrowed something and needs to return it to you, that would be one reason why it might make sense to have a short interaction. For moving on to the class of 2021, for selection for sponsors, probably the most critical thing this year will be flexibility. There will be new rules and new guidelines developed based on the pandemic, and those rules that are developed may possibly change as things progress during the year, as conditions change. So that's one area of flexibility. Also, Jim will talk more about this, but all officers are going to arrive, all 48 officers are going to arrive as geographical bachelors or bachelors. They're arriving without families. It may be possible, depending on conditions, that families could join them sometime during the year. We don't know that yet, but we will need sponsors that can be flexible to take someone who could be here by themselves all year, or possibly have a whole family join them at some point during the year. And then it will help us to make assignments if you, as sponsors, are willing to forego country preferences. We just have kind of a whole new ball game this year. So flexibility is key. And then please, take into consideration things that are risk factors in our current environment. So age, health conditions, underlying conditions should be a strong consideration as to whether or not you sponsor. And then if you don't have a strong preference, or it might be a year that you want to just take a break, since we have a smaller class this year. And then we will be working with a limited amount of time. We learned the countries yesterday, the list of countries, and so we'll have a little bit more limited parameters and time to work with. So really greatly, the committee will greatly appreciate your flexibility as we navigate through this new process to make our assignments for next year. IMSD is willing to support the sponsor briefing, but we have to work out, what that will look like. What date, the format, and the parameters are going to be based on the situation that we're in right now. It likely would be sometime after graduation and before the officers arrive on the 24th of July. And now I think that's the end of mine, so I will turn this over now to Jim. Jim, I have your slides divided up into maybe a half a dozen different ones or so.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharon, and
Sure.
and thank you to the organization for allowing me to spend a little time with you during this meeting. I appreciate it very much. A couple of things before I launch into this, I'd just like to share with the group. As many of you, or perhaps all of you, are aware, Mike Bratman is retiring, and his last workday will be the 5th of June. So unfortunately, my plans to really recognize him and show him how much he's meant to the program, and I'm sure all of you would have loved to have the opportunity at the sponsor appreciation ceremony to share your thoughts with Mike. We're not going to get that chance, at least not right now. But if you are in contact with Mike or would like to be in contact with Mike, let me know, and I would encourage you to reach out to him and thank him for all the work he did and share whatever sentiments you'd like to with him. He's been a tremendous asset to the program, and I'm working very diligently right now to find somebody that can fill those shoes. So that's going to be tough. Sharon has mentioned a number of things that bring me to my next statement as I open up. Basically, what you thought of as normal, you need to set aside. This is not going to be a normal year. And I'd just like to offer some context if I could. So, well, let me touch on these ceremonies very quickly. So for those of you who sponsored international students who stayed on for the second year for SAMS, their graduation will be the 21st, so just in a couple of days. That event will be a virtual event. You can log on to that Facebook link and watch that ceremony. The second two ceremonies listed on there, the International Military Graduate Badge Ceremony and CGSOC graduation, will also be virtual events. However, the Army is not announcing those links until 2 weeks out from the events. So as soon as we have the link for the badge ceremony, we will share that, as we will for the graduation. And Sharon, if you can advance the slide for me, I don't know if I can. Maybe I'll try the next one and see if I can. So out processing our current class. Students are not allowed to take any leave or depart the local area until graduation. After graduation, they're going to be expected to depart as soon as possible. However, there are a significant number of international travel restrictions that are in place that are going to cause changes, delays, cancellations, etc., as we work to get the officers back home. Some of the home countries are working on repatriation flights. And so as those things present themselves, we will be assisting the officers and their families to take advantage of those opportunities to go home. We have had several officers depart already early, and we have a warning order that we may have a handful of others depart on very short notice as well. So essentially, we're at the point in the course where the officers have completed all of their major requirements. They're in their second and final few electives courses, and are at the point now that we can schedule them to depart, and it will not have any impact on their complete and full credit for the course. So if you're sponsoring a student and you get a frantic phone call that says, I just found out that my country is doing a repatriation flight and I'm leaving in 2 days, then that is, don't be surprised if that happens. again, I would go back. There's a lot of changes. Every day we're getting changes to the students' itineraries. As I think many of you know, more than half of the class, the United States government is responsible for the officers' travel. We are not responsible for the family travel for any of the officers. So many of the officers have planned their families' travel, and those plans are changing. We have planned their travel, and those plans are changing. And so if your officer voices concern to you that they're upset that now they're not going to be able to travel with their family or something has happened, I just ask you to please refer them back to us. Don't contact us directly. We're going to work directly with the officer. We just cannot address these to secondary sources. So we don't have time to deal with the officer who's upset and sponsors that are upset. There's just no time for it. So please, if your officer comes to you, ask them, please go back to IMSD. They're the ones who are going to have to help you fix this, and we will work with them. But there will be frustrations, and this will continue to be a challenge. Next slide, please. This represents the 48 countries that are actually going to be confirmed into seats. One of the biggest things you'll notice is there are no countries with multiple seats. So the countries in the past that have typically enjoyed multiple seats in the course, like the UK, Canada, Germany, Saudi Arabia, Korea, any number of countries that in the past have had multiple seats, no one's gotten more than one seat. And when you make a cut from 120 down to 48, it's a very difficult cut. So I would just like to ensure that you're aware that this decision was taken at the Army level. The Chief of Staff of the Army directed the Army G3 to pull back all the seats, look at them in the light of the combatant commanders' priorities, and then go back out to the combatant commanders to confirm their priorities. So the 48 countries that have received invitations represent the high priority countries in each of those combatant commands. And that's the best we're going to be able to do this year. Next slide. So just so you understand that the cuts were not just in the international class. A typical class size is about 1,200 students. That number has been reduced to 768. 768 students represent the number of students that we can put in the 96 classrooms while maintaining the social distancing requirements we believe are going to continue. And they are also supported by the air handling capabilities that are existent in the facility. So once we did that, once we went from 1,200 to 768, we had to look at the federal legislative requirements to train our sister service officers. So the Air Force, Navy, and Marines. We have an actual federal legislative requirement to train a percentage of those officers. There is no similar requirement to train internationals. In the past, with the larger class, we enjoyed excess capability that allowed us to bring in up to 120 officers. Now, with the reduction, we have had to reassign over 300 U.S. Army officers to a distance learning modality. The Chief of Staff of the Army decided that the international participation was important enough that he wanted to ensure we have at least one international in each of the small groups, 16-person groups. So that's how we got to the 48 number. If you divide 768 by 16, you get 48 staff groups, and that's how we arrived at 48 international students. Next slide, please. Those of you who are sponsoring students in the current class that are staying for SAMs, their families who are already here are going to continue to enjoy authorization, and they will stay here with their officer student for the second year. We have 3 internationals coming in for a senior service college program. We typically do not assign sponsors to this, and we don't intend to assign sponsors, but I'm sharing this with you to be transparent, and in the event that there's any complaint of unfairness. These are all colonels that are doing their Army War College level course here at Fort Leavenworth. There are only 16 total students in that program, 13 American students and 3 international students, 1 from Canada, 1 from Germany, and 1 from the United Kingdom. And they will go into dedicated housing, so there is no issue with them. They will come, if their families accompany them, they'll go straight into quarters, and that's why we're able to assist in an exception to policy for those 3 officers. For the 48 officers that are coming in for CGSOC, they will come initially without family, and they will go initially into Hogue Barracks, the on-post hotel, for 14 days of isolation and quarantine under the supervision of my staff. At the conclusion of that period, they will then have the opportunity to move into what their desired permanent, air quotes, housing option will be. Some of them, of course, will decide to live on post. Some may live off post. Once we get through the initial prep course period and reassess the conditions at the start of the course, if those conditions support it, we will begin to allow families to join. So we will revisit this requirement to not have families on or about the 8th of September. If schools are reopening, if child care centers are reopening, if all the support mechanisms that normally we would need to see to be able to welcome the officers to have their families join, if those services are present, then we will encourage the officers to have their families join. If conditions prevent that, then we're going to delay. But all the way up probably until the winter break, we will continue to reevaluate this with an eye towards trying to allow families to join if they want their families to join. Next slide. Again, all of the officers will report on one day. There's not going to be a report window as we have had in the past. Everyone will report on the 24th of July, and they will go immediately into the 14-day self-isolation on post. Our staff, augmented by support from the installation, will do all of the airport pickups. Currently, we do not have any plan for icebreakers that would include sponsors. And right now, any physical interaction that traditionally we would have had between the international students and their sponsors is on hold until we see what the restrictions on group size, et cetera, end up being. The pace of the course right now, I can tell you, is going to be more challenging than it has ever been. We have lost about 5 weeks from the course, but we have not lost any of the terminal learning objectives that were required to ensure the students receive while they're here. So instead of classes going for 2 to 4 hours a day between the start of the course and the winter break, literally we're going to have students in class 6 hours plus a day, Monday through Friday, all the way from the start of the course on the 8th of September until the winter break. So you're going to have some very tired and exhausted students. So again, not something we have experienced in the past. Next slide.
Actually, that's the last one I have.
Okay, so if that being my last slide, if anybody has any questions of me, I'll shut up and listen.
Hey, Jim, it's Tamara Sevchik, and maybe I missed it on throughout your briefing slides. So, getting our students to the airport, are we going to do that as they depart, or how is that going to work?
So for
Thanks.
for the departing class, Tamara, my office is prepared to provide all of that support. There is no requirement for sponsors to support their students going to the airport. Now, if you and your student have talked and this is something that your heart is set on and you're comfortable with doing it, it's something you want to do, understanding all the risks associated with it, then we're not going to stand in your way. But what we are doing is we are querying the students now, and we're asking them to tell us what their requirement is. So I would encourage each of you to dialogue with your student and find out, let them know what your feelings are, and remind them that IMSD is fully prepared to support them. So again, no official expectation that sponsors will do that traditional farewell. We're prepared to take that on. Over.
Jim.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Jim, it's Jack and Eric Schmid. And we hope that you will let us have an officer. But if we're not meeting them at the airport, and we're not having icebreakers, and we're not having our traditional opener in our own backyard, how are you suggesting we establish a relationship with that officer?
It's going to be hard. I'm not sure that it will happen. If we're not able, if IMSD is unable to host some type of event that brings the sponsors and their officer together, we're not sure how this will actually end up working. So initially, I guess we can be inventive, and certainly for those folks that are wanting to do it, we can set up FaceTime calls. The officers, when they go into Hogue Barracks, that initially, they will all be issued their laptop computers. They will be connected and have internet connectivity and access to the outside world digitally from the first day. So for those sponsors that would like to maybe FaceTime or pre-position, we'll have access to the rooms if somebody wants to pre-position a little welcome packet or something like that. We can facilitate that. But right now, unless the restrictions are lifted to the point where we can host something, then I can't offer anything more at this point.
Jim, Don Fusen, could you arrange through Zahid or whatever to send us a good mailing address for Mike Redmond so we could send a card to him?
Absolutely. Absolutely, Don.
And Jim, this is Joan Barrett. Thank you for sharing all that. I know this has been hard. And I'm going to ask Sharon, could you roll back up and show the countries again, the map of the countries?
Sure.
I want to take a photo of that just so that we know. Okay, thank you.
Sure, and we'll send this out too. Actually, I think we're planning to post it on the website, this whole presentation.
Well, I will stay here with you until the end of your meeting and be available for any more questions you might have. And I'll just turn my mic off and wait. And until I see you all again, everybody be safe and take care of yourselves. And it is lovely to see your faces.
Jim Fain, one more question, Don Fusen. Do you think this will disrupt SAMs for next year as well? You were talking about the fact that people have been approved will stay over, but you didn't indicate anything about the future. That's to TBD.
Yeah, well, SAMS is the one program, the SAMS AMSP program is the one program that's going to be the least impacted because all of the students come from the existing CGSOC class. So they happen to be the one group of people in all of Army TRADOC that's already where they need to be to do their next course. Our expectation is that from this cohort of 48 international students, there are going to be 12 to 14 highly qualified officers that are going to stay on and go to SAMS next year. So my expectation is that we will have a SAMS slice that comes out of this group of 48 that stays on and flows into SAMS next year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jim Fan. We can move on next item on agenda, which is 2020 GKCPTP election results. Karen Haber, please.
Yes, so a lot of you have already voted, sent in your ballots with all of the strange timing with this from early March on. Let me just ask this. If you had not voted previously on this ballot, I would like to hear from you with an aye. Any who would still need to vote, or if you don't remember, go ahead and vote again. If you are in favor of this ballot, aye.
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 Realizing you were, I apologize, wasn't thinking about that. And any opposed, same sign. Hearing none, we will accept this ballot with Saeed continuing as president. We do have various ones of us that have changed around in our duties. We have added Stan Shipman, who's on this Zoom meeting. Welcome. And I believe that you can see it there. So if you have any questions, let us know, please. Zaid, one quick thing. We skipped past programs earlier on.
Okay, after that, I will put that asks. Okay, let's finish this. If there are no questions, I'm asking for motion to approve the 2020 officials and board members. Motion, please.
This is Randy Pace, and I so move.
Okay, I need a second.
I'll second.
So all who are in favor of the motion to approve the 2020 officials and board members, say aye.
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 All who are opposed, say nay. So there is no. So the motion is unanimously approved, and we can move on to next item, which is program. So Nancy Gritmier, can you please say something about the programs?
Program possibilities and do normal.
Nancy?
Nancy, take yourself off mute.
I thought I was off. Am I off now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. Because of the uncertainty of the restrictions that we're under with the COVID, we kind of are on hold as far as that goes. We won't be having the typical sponsor briefing, but in some manner, we will train those new sponsors, whoever they may be. It may be virtually. And we're looking at the possibility of some virtual programming. But as far as in-person gatherings, we're going to have to put that on hold until further notice, until things open up a bit, or hopefully things will improve in the near future, but we just kind of have to wait and see. So we will be doing some programming, especially we want to keep people involved since we will have fewer sponsors this year. So we will let you know as soon as we know something, and that will be coordinated with the military on the base at Fort Leavenworth. Any questions about that? And we're welcoming any suggestions that you might have as far as things you would like to see or possibilities that you know that might work for us this year, being so different from our typical year. I guess that's all.
Okay, so we can move on to next thing, and I would like to welcome our new board member, Stan Shipman, and thank you for all who participated today. And I want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart. It's an honor and a big responsibility you have bestowed on me today. I promise that I will strive my best to fulfill my duties as a president with the help of my team and the members. The strength of the organization is you all. What you are giving to this organization is the most valuable asset you possess, which is your time. With COVID-19, the whole world is changed. There will be new norms and challenges. It's all up to us how to face those challenges and change ourselves to accept the new norms. We are open to your suggestions, new ideas, and expertise to make our organization relevant, attractive, and successful. This stay-home self-quarantine gave us new ideas to connect with people and continue our programs. Now we can reach out to any distance, share our knowledge, culture, and friendship beyond our borders. We will be sharing with you all our new programs, updates, and activities through online communication. It will be a great year. I want to thank Randy Pace and Linda Jacob, who will not be with us on the board, but they will be member, and we will keep using their expertise and guidance. I will not stop them calling for their help. I want to welcome again new board member Stan Shipman. And right now, if anybody has more questions, you can ask Mr. Jim Fan, and he's there to answer. And again, thank you so much. Ramadan is getting, fasting opening time is getting closer, so I am hungry, and
oh God.
So please feel free to ask any question if you have to Mr. Jim Fan right now.
Ramadan Mubarak.
Mubarak. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our Eid will be on 23rd. All the Muslim officers who you are sponsoring, you can send them Eid greetings. On 24th morning to evening is Eid day, but it will start on the 23rd of night. So the Eid Eve, which called Chand Raat. Chand is moon sighting. So Chand Raat is on 23rd and 24th is Eid. So don't forget them if they are Muslims for happy Eid and greetings.
Thank you, Zahid. You've done a wonderful job.
Thank you, sir.
And
so,
I believe I have another one at 7 o'clock. So
okay, so
peace,
right now,
everybody. Stay well, stay happy.
Thank you, thank you.
Great to
so,
see faces.
Is there any other business that should come before this membership meeting? Is there any other business? So I will entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting. So motion, please.
I so move, Joan Barrett.
Okay, second. I need a second.
Second.
Okay, so the meeting is adjourned at 7:04 p.m.
Zahid Don Fusen, one final note. I just want everybody to understand this is one of the best programs in life. And Jim and his folks interfacing with the folks up on the fort. But I've got lots of friends in the other military around the world, and they just done a program that exists like this outside of Fort Leavenworth. And I think we're very fortunate to be in this organization in Kansas City to be able to support in our small ways the way we do when we're given the opportunity. So just that's the smile from the day from Leewood. Okay.